Taking a break from all of the real-world war machines and historical battling of World of Tanks, World of Warships and everything else, Wargaming's next foray is a full-on sci-fi mech battler. Steel Hunters is launching into early access on the 2nd of April, with Wargaming aiming to push ahead for a full 1.0 launch in relatively short order. We've been hands-on with the game though, ahead of time, and look, Steel Hunters is a pretty fun game. Sure, my opinion might be coloured by going completely undefeated while visiting Wargaming's team at DPS Games in Guildford, and that fact could have been skewed by largely playing against bots while being paired up with some very experienced playtesters who were, being nice and helping me out. But I can only imagine that it would still be quite fun even if I'd lost a few games. Now, a huge part of that enjoyment is found in the hunters themselves. There's a broad variety of designs to these towering mechs, from fairly standard bipedal soldiery types to lithe snipers and hovering drone summoning support characters. But the stars of the show for me are all of the animalistic designs. You've got a spider, you've got a bear-inspired one, and even dogs are represented in this initial lineup of styles. They feel like legally distinct Zoids in some ways, since the narrative is that these towering robots have actually been implanted with a human consciousness rather than having human pilots or being AI characters. Not that it really matters once you start to smash them together like robot action figures though. There's good, strong contrast between each character and their roles. Razorside is one of two basic all-rounders with a standard assault rifle, while Heartbreaker is the sniper with stealth abilities to improve their escapability. It really is all about those animal designs though. Ursus is this bear-like bot with a close-range shotgun and tough, summonable ice armor ability to reward you with getting in close and make you stick with the fight when you get there. Meanwhile, Fenris is much speedier, coming with energy abilities that allow them to really close range and then drop a ball of damaging energy. This quickly became my favourite character, able to chase down fleeing opponents after knocking their shields and then finishing them off at close range. Each hunter has got really quite a lengthy skill tree of unlocks to boost their power a few percentage points at a time and tweak some of their abilities, but then there's also a suite of mods and gear to unlock and choose between. Razorside can mod his assault rifle, for example, to switch between fully automatic fire and burst firing modes. Once you've made your choice and take them into battle, DPS Games has managed to strike this fine balance between size, heft and speed. Coming in at around 8 meters tall, each of these mechs is about the size of a decent tree, and they're more than big enough to smash through buildings with ease. Literally just walk at any construct here fast enough and they'll quickly get out of the way by being utterly demolished. And there's a real sense of being this towering, hulking, heavy machine with the default walking speeds. But you're actually much more mobile than that. There's perfect responsiveness to quickly looking around with mouse and keyboard, and sprinting just tips the pace from that realistic stompy end of the scale to the unrealistic but fast and fun side of things. That contrasts strongly with the relatively slow rate of weapon reloading, which forces you to still play tactically even if you're moving as fast as you possibly can. Steel Hunters will launch into early access with one game mode to start with, called Last Stand, and this is a light riff on the ideas from the Battle Royale and extraction shooter genres. You drop in at the start of the match with 6 pairs of hunters spaced evenly around the map, and the early goal is to quickly find and harvest resources from some fairly mindless drones nearby. Given that initial spacing and the way that the nearby points of interest are placed, it's pretty likely that you're going to run into one of those neighbouring duos really quite quickly, giving that early game combat to really help whittle down the field and get you into the action after a couple of minutes. You're fairly underpowered at this point with just the base abilities of your character and without having ramped up your stats through the ultra simplistic looting. In addition to ammo drops and repair kits, drones and caches will drop triangular, diamond and circular stat boosts to increase your structural health, your shields and your damage output. They come in the standard looting colours, so white, green, blue and purple, and I really appreciate just how straightforward grabbing them is. You can have 2 of each type equipped, and you can also see in the UI what your partner has got equipped, making the judgment calls on what to grab or what to share as simple as glancing at the bottom corner of the screen and making that split-second call. After the first few minutes, a simple objective generally pops up, typically taking you to a zone where high value and more aggressive drones are about to drop in. The potential rewards here are increased, but so too is the chance of bumping into other teams as the objective draws players together. Eventually, the game mode is then brought to a head with a timed extraction, tasking you with reaching the point on the map and then capturing and holding out for 2 minutes. It's that last-ditch chance for any surviving teams to butt heads, leading either to a successful extraction or a team winning by just being the last one standing. It's short, it's pithy, it's effective. Last stand matches really don't last all of that long, maybe 20 minutes or so at the most, and the pace is kept up by the relatively straightforward goals of quickly levelling, grabbing power boosts, and then facing off in that final stage. However, there are further game modes in development that will add further layers on top of this basic format. Starfall Harvest is a mode that was originally meant for launch and was previously announced and demoed, but it needs a little bit more time to be refined, and so DPS games are taking it. And down the line there could easily be modes that mix up team sizes, add in completely different objectives, and pretty much everything else. So why early access? Well, Steel Hunters is hoping to hit the ground and start stompily running, and so it's going to start off with absolutely no monetization. Only once Wargaming and DPS are happy with the game's progress and the potential will they start to introduce monetization and push towards their 1.0 launch, which again they're hoping to get to pretty quickly. But there's already a planned rollout of content through the first couple of months. April will be Season 0, with Season 1 then coming in May, and bringing new hunters to the table already. There's also already plans to adjust the UI, the HUD, the overarching hunt progression, and more in tandem with early player feedback. But the most important thing is that the game already feels really solid, and that there's some great hunter designs with some really strong contrasts in their gameplay and tactical combat potential. Now the only question for me is, once the game is out, do I decide to go in and risk my 100% record? I'm on the fence a little bit. That's all that we've got for our preview of Steel Hunters. We'd like to say thank you to DPS and Wargaming for hosting us at their studio, giving us a behind-the-scenes look at the game's development and the future plans. And then for you, before you go, please make sure to like, subscribe, do all of the usual YouTube things, and we'll hopefully see you again soon. Goodbye!
Fixing myself to improve performance. It was unwise to allow